Hello, thank you for taking the time to watch this video with the Warren Christmas Village YouTube channel. And I'd also like to take this moment to thank all of our subscribers for taking the time to keep updated with the shenanigans that I post. If you'd like to stay updated on the things that we're doing, click down the shooby booby or whatever, the doobly doobie down below, please. I hope everyone had a really great Halloween. As you can see, I'm still in the spirit, which I'm kind of in that spirit 24/7. And I'm pleased to announce that we have finally put together a set of rules for the Warren Christmas Village miniatures game. The rules don't have any graphics. They're still a beta set of rules, which means that they could change. I just did a major change this week from what we've been playtesting to make it more streamlined and quick back and I like the back and forth figure play rather than a person playing a whole turn, so that way folks aren't going to get bored. Here is what I uploaded yesterday in honor of Halloween. I did zombies. The artwork is done by the 2D illustrator who I serendipitously met in Lexington when I went there to help a friend of mine who was doing Edward Scissorhands drag. As you can see, we've got the zombie horse, and then zombie Steamboat Annie, and then the other two gentlemen that are zombies. The colors don't mean anything. I just put those on there because why not? Now, keep in mind, I'm not the best graphic designer, but I was able to push these pixels around. They're not perfectly laid out, so you're just going to have to use the scissors to fix that. Here's the sheet that has the Christmas treant, which is one of our scenarios, and then I don't know if this is focusing or not. Then we also have Jack Frost, Persia the Christmas Witch, which is a really really interesting Alpine tradition. Easter Bunny, Saint Nicholas, Krampus, and then we have the mimicry presents, and we also have some snowmen. I redid this layout, so it's not going to look exactly like this, but it's pretty close. Here's another sheet. It has Santa Claus, Mrs. Claus, the Nutcracker, Blitzen, the Battlehammer Frosty, and 2 of the 3 workshop elves. We've got 3 workshop elves that are coming out this year. In a couple months, they're in production right now. And then next year, hopefully, if the Kickstarter gets funded, we will do another 3 sets of elves. We have a dentist elf, per request from the backers community, and we have a elf mounted on a reindeer, which is also another request from the community. And then we have a Zelda type elf. Sorry, I can't even say that with the straight face. So here's our third 3 sheets for our print and play. There you go, 3 sheets of print and play. What's really great about these is that when you fold this over, it's about 1.5 inches. So take this and cut it out, and then just fold it over, and you have a little mini cutout. They're perfect. The zombie horse I did a little bit bigger because it's a horse, and who doesn't need a zombie horse in their campaign? This actually came from a homebrew scenario I made using the Hamlet, the old D&D module Hamlet. I think it came out in like 79 or 81.
Here's an example of the print and play cutouts next to their actual corresponding minis. The way I did the measurement is the rectangle that's finished is approximately 1 inch this way and 1.5 inches that way. So it corresponds to about the right ratio. The images are going to be smaller, so just keep that in mind. There's the Santa next to the painted Santa, the elves. And then over here we've got the treant, which is one of our scenarios. There's the cutout, which is almost just about the right size as the mini. Pretty close. That's a really cool graphic. That's a fun scenario. And in the background, you have the Jackalope minis, which are awesome, with the cowboys. Yeehaw, yippee-ki-yay.
Warren Christmas Village is a tabletop miniature skirmish game where players get to choose a holiday hero and a seasonal sidekick to represent the bosses of their adventuring party. It's an asymmetrical, objective turn-based skirmish game, meaning that different seasonal sidekicks and holiday heroes have access to different abilities. Those abilities are played through what's called the special action ability cards. There are about between 13 to 20 choices for each seasonal sidekick and holiday hero. However, the hero only gets to choose 8 of those cards to use during gameplay, and the seasonal sidekick only gets to choose 5. This, I think, is the hardest part of the game, choosing only 5 special ability cards. The special ability cards can radically alter the gameplay, so you're always on your toes. What may happen in one turn, you think, oh, I'm going to do this for my next strategy. Well, your player can come along and throw a fireball at you. There are different types of abilities for these cards. Some do buffs, which will give a bonus to one of your player's abilities, or perhaps their defense, or their dodge, or their combat. There are debuffs that, for instance, Curse will doesn't cause damage to an enemy, but it makes their special abilities a little weaker. Usually -1 is for Curse. There are also area of effect attacks. Who doesn't love throwing a fireball? It's one of the best spells, best overpowered, most fun spells in D&D, right? All those D6s. So we have some area of effects. Characters can also fly, teleport, leap. They'll do the special ability cards can do that sort of movement thing, and Santa can even mess around with some quantum physics because he's Santa. So that's where the fun part of the special ability cards come into play. And like old basic and expert D&D and AD&D, they're one-time uses. It's like a spell or a rage. For instance, Blitzen's more like a barbarian, so he has a lot of combat modifiers. He also has a hammer that's kind of like Thor's that's lightning. Mjolnir. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And there you go. There's a little brief synopsis of what the special ability cards do. Those are also included in the print and play. I've included 9. I actually included 9 holiday heroes and seasonal sidekick options, which will allow enough for a 4-person game if you want to play a 4-person game. Or do teams. You can do 2 teams of 2 people, or you could do a one-on-one game. And we also have some solo play options with some solo scenarios. Loot Santa's Sleigh is one of my favorite scenarios, in which the delinquent elves are trying to make off with some of the stolen loot and trade secrets. So it's up to the players to stop them and get the loot back, or keep it for themselves, whatever. There's really no alignment in War in Christmas Village, but most folks play the heroes. Because, the town's being attacked by zombies. Zombies. And speaking of zombies, I've also included the stats for creatures like zombies, the Christmas tree, the mimicry presence, workshop elves, the snow people, who make up part of the army. These are examples of what the special ability cards look like. For instance, here is the St. Nicholas ability card, or St. Nick. He, in Catholic lore, was able to raise dead children. Apparently there's a story where someone was doing some Sweeney Todd something with a meat pie and people, cannibalism story in 300, I think it was 300 AD. Yeah, I think it was around the fall of Rome or something. So anyway, he raised some dead. So I'm like, well, he sounds like a necromancer. So he has a lot of necromancer spells. Here are examples of the stats with the characters you can run into. It's very simple. Each monster or creature or troop or Christmas critter or hero or sidekick has hit points. There are also the defense, which is the number or higher you need to roll on 2d6 to hit them. There's the move, which is in inches per turn. Melee combat modifiers, defense combat modifiers. The dodge modifier, the willpower, and ranged combat modifier. Not all troops can do ranged. It's not a big shooty game. Even though most seasonal sidekicks, I think actually all seasonal sidekicks and heroes, if they don't have a basic ranged combat, they at least have a special ability card to give them ability to at least try and hit something ranged. Let's see. Here's an example of some more of the special ability cards. This is for the Misses, as in Mrs. Claus. In our line, we just call her the Misses. And her whole series, which is coming out, hopefully in it's in production now. Hopefully we'll get them in time for Thanksgiving, if not the week after. She is Mrs. Claus, and we have nicknamed her Shooty Judy because she's ranged combat, and that's what she focuses in. So here are some examples here are her stats. As you can see, she has a ranged combat of +2, which is really good in this game. It's a 2d6 mechanic. That's a really good, that can really alter the probability. She also has, for instance, she's not really strong in melee, but we decided to give her a special ability card with the rolling pin jujitsu attack, because in the mini she has a rolling pin in her back. She also has one of the more powerful abilities, the She Ain't Having It card, and that can negate any effect. It's kind of like a Dispel Magic, if you want to think of it that way, in D&D, but she has to have line of sight. And then we also have like a disengage card, which allows characters to get away from melee combat if they don't want to be there. She's not really a melee combat. I mean, she can pack a wallop. She's got a decent melee, but she fights as well as an elf. But she's not designed for that, so I made sure that the ranged combat characters can always get disengaged somehow if they get trapped into melee. In this game, it is possible to one-hit a character. On the damage die, it's basically a 1 in 6 chance. So you have to hit somebody, which means you have to roll higher than their opposing roll and higher than their defense, which is generally an 8 or a 7. And then once that happens, you roll a damage die. So there's a 1 in 6 chance if you hit someone that you can do 3 points of damage, which kind of is it's interesting. Let's see, here's some more examples. The Nutcracker, we really didn't see anything on that one. So here's the Nutcracker. We have some things. Once again, we have Sprint, so that he's a melee character. So sometimes the melee characters really need to run up somewhere. So he can spend this card and add 2 inches to his movements per turn. Once again, I put disengage for him because he's melee. Why shouldn't he have that? We have a Bodyguard option where he can swap places with another figure that's in line of sight. And then I have some cards that do things like Lucky, which allows him to re-roll both his dice and choose the best result. Some characters can do Unlucky, which causes the opposing player to re-roll their die, which I think is interesting. I love those probability things, those probability options. It really reminds me of the old Marvel role-playing game. There was I think it was called Luck, actually, and you could alter the probability dice. They used the percentile dice, the 2d10s, to make the percentile dice for things. So that was pretty radical. If you could have a superhero who could be like, whoop. It's kind of like Scarlet Witch. Here's some more examples. Like here's the pack of wallop, and then her dimensional. We call it dimensional doorway. We all know what that is. We call it dimensional doorway because she should be able to teleport, and then with dimensional doorway she can actually bring a friend. Steady shot gives her a bonus to her range. That's for the misses. So there's an example of some of the special ability cards. I don't think I think all the rest are cut up and put away in our folder. So all of this comes with the print and play, everything you need to just start gaming. And then we also have things like the scenarios. This one is the Eastern Cemetery scenario, which we have a board gamer, and he's also a really avid video gamer. This is his most requested scenario. It's kind of a horde scenario, and I guess he's into farming in videos, and you can possibly win the game by farming. But that's not the last time we played. The guy who won by taking off the most treasures, the special treasures and the standard treasures, and he had killed and destroyed a number of zombies. But this is the Eastern Cemetery scenario with Elder Jenkins, where the unholy abominations had wandered into downtown. Let's see, here's the mimicry sheets, scoring in the game. Here's the Loot Santa's sleigh scenario, which is one of my all-time favorites. I think that's a lot of fun. The Loot Santa's sleigh is nice because it's a kind of a timed game. If the sleigh gets off the board, I think it takes about 6 rounds. We're playing on a 4x4, so you have 6 rounds, and then if the sleigh gets off the board with the special treasure, the elves win, and the game wins, and there is no winning for the player. So you can score all these points, but if the elves get off the game with Santa's trade secrets and the kind of SOL on that one. There we go. Oh, also here's the quick reference sheet. This gives you, oh, I'm sorry, this is not the quick reference sheet. This is oh, I'm sorry, no, my bad. This is the quick reference sheet. This gives you things like the weather chart and describes how actions work for new players to wargaming. There's the random encounter chart or table, which I love. That's very, to me, very traditional old school D&D to have a random encounter wander under the table. The chart also has things like falling damage and how to score Kringle points to win the game. Let's see, what else do we have? Oh, here's a scenario. This is gonna, I have to wait for the minis to be illustrated because the Gingerbread gang is so new. We don't have the illustrations done yet. The minis are being painted by Shoshi, who does amazing work, by the way. Look up Shoshi's Magnificent Minis. Just do yourself a favor. So we have the Gingerbread house scenario, which is going to use the new Gingerbread minis that are coming out, and it requires an actual gingerbread house in the middle of the table to play with, which you can make one. I just connected with a guy on Facebook who is making a gingerbread house out of cork board. I'm sorry. He is making a gingerbread house out of cork board, which I think is pretty cool. I might have to try that idea. So there you go. Please go ahead and download the link for the Warren Christmas Village print and play. Like I said, we've got everything you need. We've got the sheets, we've got the scenarios, we've got the sheets for the minis, the scenarios, the special ability action cards for the heroes. It's all good to go, y'all. And it can go from one to 4 players is what you're able to download. Eventually in the game, I think if you were to have all the seasonal sidekicks and heroes, I haven't done the math, but you'd be able to have a bigger game than just 4 players. But I've got this here, so you can go ahead and download. And like I say, there are some scenarios you can play on your own, or you can play with up to 4 people. Enjoy and have a good time, and please let me know what you think in either the comments down below, or we also have a Facebook group where we have a beta test if you want to talk about possible rule changes. I read comments. I mean, I only get like 1 or 2,